Okay, so welcome to this month's tutorial on the Artistic Digitizer, and we are working with In the Hoop Applique. So there is a Applique auto feature on this software, but I like to create my own individual one, so that gives me more control over what features I want to include in my applique, and it also gives me control over what type of stitches I'm going to use. So I'm going to share that with you today. So we've gone ahead and we've opened up our Artistic Digitizer software. We've selected our hoop. So I'm using my Memorycraft 15,000 with my SQ14 hoop. And I'm just going to be stitching it out on cotton. So I've got cotton selected as my fabric. The next step is we go create new. Okay, so we now have our hoop area on our screen. We're going to bring in our artwork. So we go up and we click from file. We locate the artwork. So this is the artwork that you received in your email. And we open our artwork. So when it brings it in, it asks us what we want to do with it. So we want to load it as a backdrop. So we've got that one clicked. The next thing is we're going to change our width to 140. So that's the stitch area of our hoop. You can also see here that there is an actual bit of white selection around our artwork. So if we select this artwork at that size, it means that our actual embroidery design won't go all the way outside of our hoop. Okay, so it's coming. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through and create these scrolls. And by doing so, we're going to create a double running stitch, which then will continue into a wide satin stitch as it gets to the edge. To do that, we're going to click digitize. We're going to scroll in. We're going to use the left and the right mouse clicks. And we're just going to follow that line around until it starts to get wider. We're going to finish there. So we're going to press enter, and that's going to create that line. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to select rectangle selection. We're going to change our color to green. So we're choosing our outline, which is our pencil. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change our stitch to a double, and we're going to change our length to a 3 mil. Okay, so that's going to give us that now. So zoom in here. So we're going to create this satin piece next. So the brilliant thing with this software is if we create this piece in green and then we create this one in the same color and they overlap here, the software will actually automatically create the mathematical equation in the background to continue those stitches through. So it becomes one stitch, not two separate pieces. Okay, so we're going to start by creating our outside shape. So we used our left click at the point to create a point, and then we're just going to follow it back around to the beginning, like so. We're going to click our rectangle selection. We're going to change the color to green. So we want the fill in green, but we want no outline. So you can see there that it's going to join up, like so. Bring this one in just a little bit. So we've got a better overlap. Okay. So we can now move on to our next one. And repeat that. So we go digitize, create our shape, like so. And I'm just going to go a bit freestyle there. We go enter. We go select. We're going to change our outline to green. We're going to change to a double stitch. And we're going to change that length to 3 mil. Like so. And then we're going to move on to our next one. So we're going to create our run stitch. Like so. Enter. Select. Change our outline color. Change it to a double stitch. Change our length to 3. We're going to create our satin. Tip of the scroll. That mouse is doing funny things today. Bit of freestyle there. That's the beauty of manually creating new designs. Select. We're going to change our color. We're going to remove our outline. Yep, I'm happy with that one. Okay, so zoom out, scroll down, and we're going to move on to our next one. So we're going to create this one. I think I might leave like that. We're going to change it to green, change our stitch, change it to 3. Okay, we're going to move around to our next. Like so. Enter when we finish where we want our line. Change it to green. Change it to a double run. Change it to 3. We can now create our satin end of our scroll, like so. Change it to green, remove our outline. We're going to select edit node and just bring that up just that little bit so it's overlapping. The other thing we're going to do is you can see here our stitch is out of line a bit. So what we can do is we can select our stitch flow and bring that around like that. And that will curve it around. If we're still unhappy with that endpoint, we can go edit stitches. That's not going to be. That's not going to let us. Okay. There we go. Okay. We're going to digitize. I'm going to need a new battery in my mouse. I'm going to change it to green. We're going to change it to a double. And we're going to change it to 3 mil. And then we'll finish off a little satin point, like so. Like that. And change it to green. And we're going to remove our outline. Yep. Okay, so once we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our leaves. And the leaves have a two-part to them. So if we come up here and press that, change it to manual, you can now see all our little pieces that make up our design. So we're going to go digitize. We're going to create our first half of our leaf. And I'm just creating a rough leaf pattern. You could go into more detail if you wanted to, but just for today, we're going to, okay, so edit that out, that in, like so. There we go. We're going to change our color. We're going to remove our outline, and we're going to change our stitch flow. So we've pressed stitch flow, and we're going to bring it down onto an angle like so. The next thing we need to do is we need to create that second half of our leaf. So we select digitize, and we create. Mouse has been difficult tonight. Okay. And I've just overlapped it a little bit. So then we won't have any gaps between our stitches. So we've selected it. We're going to change our fill stitch to a green. We're going to remove our outline, and we're going to change our stitch flow to the opposite direction. So there we go. So that will give you definition now. So when you stitch it out, having those two stitches on a different angle will actually give you the illusion of one of the sides of your leaf will actually be slightly darker in colour, which is only just the reflection of the light off the angle of the stitch. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next leaf, and we're going to create that one. I'm not too concerned that there's going to be an overlap with the flower when we get to our applique piece. So I'm not too concerned about that. If you wanted to, you could bring it up, but because we're going to be covering it with fabric, I'm not too concerned. Okay, so we've created our first half. We're now going to change our colour. We're going to remove our outline, and we're going to change our stitch flow. Okay, like so. We can now come back and create the second half. So continue around our second half of our leaf. I don't like that one. Let's delete him. And back to where we started. like so. That a bit. Let's give it more of an angle. Yep. So we're going to move on to our next leaf. We're going to create our first half. We're going to change it. Sorry about that. Okay, we're going to change it. You can see here that it's automatically created it as a satin stitch. So the first thing we need to do is change it to a step. We're going to change our color. We're going to remove our outline. We're going to change our stitch flow. We're then going to come back and create that second half. We're going to change the color, remove our outline, and change our stitch flow. Here we go. And our next leaf. Like so. Change our stitch flow. There we go. And we'll make that a little bit of an angle like that. I come back and create that second half. We don't want the sharp points, we want a nice curve. Change it to green, remove our outline, change our stitch flow. There we go. And our lucky last leaf. We'll create our first half. There we go. We're going to change our colour, remove our outline, change our stitch flow. Just bring that up a little bit, like so. There we go. Okay, so we're going to come back and create that second half, like so. Give it a bit of shape. There we go. We're going to change it to green, move our outline, and change our stitch flow. There we go, like so. The next thing we're going to do is create our applique. So the reason I like to manually create my applique is that when I stitch out my appliques, I like to have a placement stitch, and then with my tack down stitch, I like to have a double running stitch for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by just bringing our background above our embroidery. So now you can actually see our outline of our flower again. we're going to go digitize to create our shape. Zoom in. Mr. Mouse, be nice to me. And we're going to move around our shape. Placing our nodes as we go. Until we get back to the beginning. Right, so once we get back to the beginning, we can select our design. Over. You can see here that we've got stitches on the inside, so we don't actually want our stitches on the inside, so we're going to turn our fill off. So we've just got our outline. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide our backdrop so you can just see our design. So now we have our placement stitch. The next thing we need is our tack down stitch. So the easiest way to do that, to know that it's going to go directly over the correct spot and be directly the correct size as our placement stitch and keep everything fluid, what we're going to do is we're going to go copy and paste. You can now see in the sequence bar, we have 2 in black. If we sent that through to our machine now, the machine wouldn't know to stop and stop between those 2 stitches. So it'd do 2 lots of that outline flower. Sorry. So to stop the machine and have it recognize that there is a stop between it, we need to change those colors. So we're going to keep black. And what I do is if I'm doing applique, I always have my placement stitches black, and then I change my tack down stitch to a blue. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to change our stitch to a double, and I'm just going to tick the length. So you can now see if we click off that those 2 stitches are directly over the top of each other. So we know that they're going to be in exactly the same spot. So the next thing we need to do is create our satin stitch to finish that off. So we're going to copy and paste that one again. This time we're going to change it to a satin stitch, and we're going to change the width to 3 mil. Now 3 mil is the stitch that I like. Some designers that I talk to like a 2.5 mil. I prefer a 3, and then some even go wider. I've seen 5. Oh, sorry. I have seen 5 and 6 mil stitches out there. So you'll find that over time, the more confident you get in your digitizing, you'll have preferences to the size of stitches that you like working with. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to click underlay. And the reason behind that is that when you see your stitches your applique stitched out, you always see they do the tack down stitch and then they come back over the top with a zigzag. So that's what that actually is. That underlined cross is that zigzag stitch. So I'll show you that later on in our slow redraw, and you'll be able to get more of an idea of that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the colour to pink. Okay, like so. The other thing I've noticed is I've got this one down here is quite long. So I might just go through and edit that one. So I've clicked on our design in our sequence that we want to edit. We're going to go edit nodes and click on our node and just move it around a little bit. Open that up. So you can see here there's no color underneath, like you cannot see the blue or the black, so we still know that that's quite hidden with our satin stitch. Okay. Then to finish off our flower, we need to create our center. So you can come over here to the left hand side and select our circle. We're going to create a circle, move it around so we're happy with it, like so. Then it's up to you whether you want to change that to yellow straight away, or whether, so if we go yellow, it gives you your yellow center. Period. There you go. You can add your satin outline to it if you wanted to, like so. Or you can create that into an applique. And to do that, it's just the same process. So we're going to go black in a run stitch, like so. We then copy and paste it in a blue, change it to a double, and then we then finish it by copy and paste again, change it to a satin, bring it out to a 3, change our color to yellow. Check that we have got our underlay selected, and there you go. So if we take that across to our slow redraw now, speed that up. Let's go. So you can see here that's our double run line, continues, creates our underlay, and then back over to our satin over the top, and then moves on to the next. Scroll and continues around. And then same with our leaves, it'll create one side, it will then come back and create that other side. Like so. When we get down to our applique, so it creates our placement stitch, then our tack down stitch with that double running stitch to reinforce. We then change our color, come over the top. It creates that zigzag stitch to hold all those raw edges in underneath, and then it will come back with our satin stitch to finish it off. And then it will repeat that process for our center. And that's how I create our in the hoop applique. Well, thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next month. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email and I'll help you out where I can. Bye for now.